Alrighty, so first video since the trip, and now I no longer have to do it at a hotel room in a dim kind of lighting while holding the board here. I actually have my actual board that is on the stands right here. But yeah, today we are going to preview these matchup. We're going to start with the Eastern Conference playoff matchup in the first round, and I'm doing it this way because unlike previous season, this year the playoff format is very unique in a way that we're kind of going old school in terms of the first round with the way that this is the first time since the early days of MLS and back in the late 90s and even into the early 2000s that we have a best of three series in terms of this first round matchup. So the best way for me to kind of do it is just kind of go by previewing each series instead of basically do a preview of game one, game two, and if there's a game three or so forth. But I will also say that, I have heard there have been people that have not been happy about this playoff format, especially in the first round and in the best of three. It feels like a little bit too much of a gimmick. All I'll say is we're going to see how this, of course, would turn out. If this turns out to be disastrous and the ratings is going to be bad, then yeah, I would say that maybe MLS is thinking about changing the format. And also, what's kind of interesting about these best of three series is that it's going to be interesting to see how game one is going to look like for all these games. And for those that think that maybe game one is going to be boring, I don't think so because the thing about these games is that there has to be a winner after 90 minutes, and that of course goes straight to a PK shootout. And that knowing the fact that if you lose game one, then all of a sudden you have your back against the wall, knowing that in the next game you have to win or else you're eliminated from the playoffs. But with that being said, today we're going to talk about the Eastern Conference, and in the next video I'll talk about the Western Conference. And we start off with the first matchup, which is the 1v8 seed. I'm going to go in orders in terms of from the biggest separation of seating to the lowest one with the 4v5 as my last one I'm going to talk about. But first of all, we got FC Cincinnati versus the New York Red Bulls. So Cincinnati, the top seed in the Eastern Conference, but also finished with the best record in MLS. So they of course win the Supporters Shield, and it's going to be interesting to see how whether or not the Supporters Shield curse is going to come back. I mean, last year it definitely took a pause with LAFC winning MLS Cup despite winning the Supporters Shield. But they play against a Red Bull side that, they're going to be very confident coming into this one because after them putting a 5-2 shenacking of Charlotte FC, they would definitely will have the momentum of trying to get it when it cause an upset against FC Cincinnati. Because after all, when you look at the all-time meeting, the Red Bulls does lead the all-time meeting 6-4 over FC Cincinnati. And I know most of that has to do with the bad FC Cincinnati team, but they have beaten FC Cincinnati already this season. The Red Bulls have already done it on the road. They've done it recently with them winning 2-1 on the road against FC Cincinnati, but then the Red Bulls did lose 2-1 to FC Cincinnati on the road, and then it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams in the first ever meeting. Now, in terms of the last 5 games and looking how teams are heading into the playoffs, well, for Cincinnati, I mean, it's been okay in terms of their form. Obviously, in the last couple of games, they've been kind of iffy in terms of the result. I mean, they got a 2-2 draw against Atlanta in a very thrilling kind of matchup in decision day. Then they did get a 1-0 win on the road against Inter Miami before losing 2-1 to the Red Bulls. Then they did win 3-2 against Toronto, but that was an ugly result. I mean, that was an ugly game in Cincinnati standard. And then they, of course, win 3-0 comfortably against Charlotte FC. Now, for the Red Bulls, as I mentioned, they are fresh off of that 5-2 wild card round win against Charlotte FC. And then on decision day in a game that they have to win against Nashville, they did exactly that. They won 1-0 against Nashville to make it to the playoffs and keep the streak alive at 14 season now of making the playoffs. Then they won 3-0 against Toronto. Then they won 2-1 on the road against FC Cincinnati, and they did lose 1-0 against the Chicago Fire. And you can see that the Red Bulls are red hot coming into this game. They've won 4 in a row, their longest winning streak this season by far. Now, in terms of the top goal scored, Omer Fernandez leads the team with 6 goals. Again, this is not a team that's known to score a lot of goals, so you're not surprised to see the goals tally is not that high, especially a top goal scorer. I mean, the fact that Omer Fernandez is a top goal scorer with only 6 goals, I mean, yeah, it just shows you that that's been a problem for the Red Bulls this season. Frankie Maya with 5 goals, Elias Manuel with 3 goals, Tom Barlow with 3 goals, and Lucanias with 3 goals. For Cincinnati, Lucho Acosta finished with 17 goals, followed by Brandon Vasquez with 8 goals. Then you got Don Baggio with 5 goals, Aaron Bupanza with 5 goals, and Junior Moreno with 4 goals. Now, in terms of top assist leader, John Token, unsurprisingly, leads the team with 6 assists, followed by Elias Manuel with 5 assists, Frankie Amaya with 5 assists, Cal Duncan with 4 assists, and Omer Fernandez rounds up the top 5 with 4 assists as well. For Lucho Acosta, he finished the season not with 4 assists. I just forgot to put an extra one here. I actually finished with 14 assists here this season. I mean, it would be crazy to say that Acosta finished with only 4 assists, considering he is basically running for MVP this season. Then you got Barrial with 9 assists, Wobodo with 5 assists, Brendan Vasquez with 4 assists, and Don Baji finished with 3 assists to round up the top 5 assist leader of this team. So yeah, looking at this game, I expect this should be close. I think this is going to be closer than what people think. I mean, I know FC Cincinnati is heavy favorites coming into this game, but then there's also the pressure. And again, we have seen before in the playoffs, when a team has a lot of pressure in terms of performing in the playoffs, it's all about seeing if they can overcome that pressure. And for Cincinnati, I think this is really the first time in the playoffs where there actually is going to be some pressure that they need to go on a deep run. And in some way, you could maybe even say it's an MLS Cup or bust run after the season that they had. And it's going to be interesting to see how Pat Nolan team will respond to that. And again, against the Red Bulls, it won't be an easy kind of game. I mean, the Red Bulls, as I said, they've been red hot lately. I know they have that so metro late next to your name, but as the old saying goes, all narratives eventually will have to come to an end, and who knows? I mean, the Red Bulls again, they can surprise a lot of people, especially in the first game. I won't be surprised they come out strong in the first game, because this is also where it goes to the discussion of the fact that, well, it's great that you finish in the top seed of the standings, but you're literally playing against a team that just won a wild card round, and they can use that momentum heading into game one of this series. So yeah, I'm very fascinated to see how this one will go. One thing for sure is that I'm pretty sure this is going to be very close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout in these games. I think it's going to be relatively close, and don't be surprised when we see some PK shootout in this meeting, which that does not favor FC Cincinnati, because Cincinnati has not really been that good this season in terms of PK shootout. We move on to the next game, which is Orlando City versus Nashville. So Orlando, number 2 seed, Nashville, number 7 seed, all-time meeting. There's been a lot of draws in this all-time meeting, 3, 5, and 2, which tells me that something tells me there's probably going to be a lot of PK shootouts in this series too. But in terms of the head-to-head between both of these teams, both of these games in the head-to-head actually didn't end in a draw. It was a 1-0 Orlando City win against Nashville a couple of weeks ago, and then Orlando City did lose 2-0 to Nashville. So the road team has been the better in terms of the head-to-head this season. But when you look at the last 5 games, I mean, I mentioned Orlando City, one of the hottest team in the league. They're unbeaten in the last 5 games. A 2-0 road win against Toronto, a 3-2 home win against New England, a 1-0 road win against Nashville, a 3-0 home win against Montreal. They did drew 1-1 against Inter Miami in that Florida Derby, but if you go back to some of the under reserve, they've also have not lost a game. I think it's been a while since this team has lost a game. They've been red hot coming into this playoffs. For Nashville, they're the kind of the opposite of red hot. They've been kind of stone cold, as I mentioned, ever since losing that Leeds Cup final against Inter Miami. They lost 1-0 on decision day to the Red Bulls, and basically helped the Red Bulls of making the playoffs. Then they did win 3-2 against New England, but they did get a 0-0 draw against the Union, a 1-0 home loss against Orlando, and then a 0-0 draw against the Seattle Sounders. The goals have definitely dried up for this team. I mean, besides the game that they had against Nashville, that at least they kind of look decent on the attacking end. Yeah, again, only one goal that has been scored, or actually no, not even one goal. They have not scored any goals in terms of the 4 out of their last 5 games. So yeah, that is a problem for this Nashville team. But in terms of the top goal scorer for Orlando, Facundo Torres with 14 goals, followed by Duncan McGuire, continue to stay red hot with 13 goals, and maybe a second incoming of Daryl Deek. Okay, that we're seeing. Then we got Ojeda with 5 goals, Angulo with 5 goals, and Romero Enrique finished top 5 with 4 goals. For Nashville, unsurprisingly, Honey Mukhtar leads the team with 15 goals, and also unsurprisingly, After that, there's a huge drop off. We got Fafa Pico with 5 goals, Teal Bunbury with 3 goals, Randall Leao with 3 goals, and Jacob Schaffelberg with 3 goals. So again, it's the same thing that as we've seen in previous time. Hani Mukhtar is clearly carrying this team, and if he's not on, this Nashville team will struggle, and he really has been struggling in terms of form coming into the playoffs too. Top assist leader for Orlando, Maurizio Pereira with 12 assists, followed by Ojeda with 11 assists. Then you got Ivan Angulo with 8 assists. Rafael Santos with 5 assists, and then says Arujo or Arajo, depending on how you actually pronounce it, and depending on how I pronounce it on a given day, with 4 assists to round up the top assist leader. For Nashville, unsurprisingly, Hani Mukhtar with 11 assists. Then you got Dan Lovitz with 5 assists, Shaq Moore with 5 assists. So yeah, your other 2 assists besides Hani Mukhtar are defenders. Yeah, again, that just kind of shows you that they have they really have not have any kind of presence from their wingers whatsoever in terms of the assist chart or even on the attacking end too. But you got Dax McCarty with 3 assists, and also Alex Mill finish the top 5 with 3 assists. So yeah, this is a game where I think Orlando's going to be heavy favorites, and especially again the only way I can see Nashville go deep in the playoffs is they can do what they did in the Leeds Cup, where just kind of out of nowhere they started to play well and able to advance all the way to the final. Because I mean, when you come into this game, I mean, unless if Hardy Muto would go nuclear in this game and he will showed up, yeah, I do see it hard for Nashville to come in this, and again, especially against a red hot Orlando City side. I mean, this is a team that I think there's going to be some expectation that they can go far, and there could be a case that they could go far because of how red hot they've been coming into the playoffs. Speaking of a matchup that could be hotly contested, it's this one between the Columbus Crew versus Atlanta United. So if it wasn't for the big game between St. Louis City and Sporting KC, which I'll talk about a little bit later in my preview of these Western Conference playoffs in the first round. This one is probably the one that a lot of people will keep an eye on. And I've said it before, expect some fireworks in this game. I mean, both of these attacks are just incredible. Though I will say that, for Atlanta, and going back to the decision there when Thiago Almada got himself sent off, that is a huge loss for Atlanta United. And we'll see whether if they can recover from that, or at least when Amada does come back, they can they win against Columbus at Atlanta, so they can force a decisive game free at Lower.com field. But in terms of the all-time meeting, 7-3-6 in favor of Columbus, and in this season head-to-head, I mean, it was a 1-1 draw the last time both of these teams play against each other, but the first meeting is one that Columbus fan will definitely remember, and one that Atlanta fans would definitely want to forget. I mean, they got absolutely smacked in that game. 6-1 was the final score for Columbus. Something tells me I don't think it's going to be like that. I mean, both of these teams has been so much different. Well, for Columbus, it's kind of been the same, but even stronger on the attack ever since that 6-1 beating, and Atlanta has definitely been different. Like, the teams that was on that day for Atlanta are mostly changed compared to the team that Atlanta is going to feel against Columbus in this game. Now, in terms of the last 5 games, for Columbus, as much as I talk about how hot their attack is and how good it is, they kind of been struggling in terms of scoring a lot of goals lately. When you look at the last 5 games, there's only been twice that they've been able to score more than 1 goal. They did win 2-1 on decision day against Montreal, then it was a 1-1 draw between both of these teams, a 2-1 road win against New England, a 1-1 draw at home against Philly, and then a 1-1 draw against FC Dallas. Now, to Columbus credit, some of these games are against teams that have good defense, and also, on the road, they've always tends to not be a good team, even when they have a strong attack, but still, it's a little bit concerning for Wilfred Nancy, the fact that the attack and the goal scoring hasn't been as lethal as what we've seen in the middle of the season. Now for Atlanta, it was a 2-2 draw last time they faced against Cincinnati, and then it was a 1-1 draw against Columbus. Then they did lose 3-2 to the Union. However, they did win 4-1 against Montreal, and then they drew 1-1 against DC United. So again, this team has been a little bit inconsistent lately, but for sure that they have the weapons to go for to really attack this Columbus team. And again, the other reason why I say this could be a high scoring affair is because Columbus, if there is a big weakness of this team, it's that defense. Although I will say that that defense has started to become a little bit better. We'll see how they do against this Atlanta team because they're gonna have to stop the likes of Yakimakis, who has been red hot lately coming into the playoffs with 17 goals, just 3 goals short of Dennis Bouanga's winning the Golden Boot and becoming the second top goal scorer in the league. Then you got Thiago Mata with 11 goals, Tyler Wood with 5 goals, Brooks Lennon with 4 goals, and Caleb Wiley with 4 goals. For Columbus, Cucho Hernandez unsurprisingly leads the team with 16 goals. Then you got Christian Ramirez with 8 goals, Adam Morris with 4 goals, Jason Russell Rowe with 4 goals, and Multi Amundsen coming from NYCFC in the midseason trade to Columbus with 3 goals to round up the top 5 goal scored. Top assist leader for Atlanta, you got Thiago Almada. Actually finished the season with the top assist guy in MLS with 19 assists. Then you got Brooks Lennon with 10 assists, Savalon Janidze with 4 assists, Caleb Wiley with 4 assists, and John De Silver with 3 assists to round up the top 5. For Columbus, Cucho Hernandez also leads the team on assists. Well, actually, he's tied with Alexandre Matan with 11 assists. Then you got Adam Morris with 7 assists, Mo Foxy with 5 assists, and then Steven Morin rounds up the top 5 with 5 assists to his name as well. So, yeah, again, I expect there's going to be fireworks. I expect this is going to be a crazy game. And I also expect there's going to be late goals too, because as I said many times before this season, it's not an Atlanta United game if there's late goal drama or either that is scored by Atlanta United or their opposition, because that's how it is this season. And again, if you're a guy that wants to watch a playoff matchup where defense could be optional at time and you see both attack look very threatening and score a bunch of goals, this is probably going to be the matchup that you would want to keep an eye on. But now moving on into the last matchup in terms of these Eastern Conference first round playoff. We got the Philadelphia Union versus New England Revolution. Now, in terms of one-sided, I think this maybe might be the one that could be one-sided, even though some people said that of course is the case. Though there's an argument that this could be one-sided too. Oh, I just don't see it. I do think that this should be an interesting matchup, and especially both of these teams they haven't really had into the playoffs in relatively good form. I mean, the Philadelphia Union, I know this season it's all about them getting back to MLS Cup and trying to redeem themselves after what happened last season, but they haven't really played that well coming into this game. Oh, again, as many people have said, they got maybe a fortunate break that they're facing against the New England Revolution. And again, New England is kind of that one team that when you look at all the team that isn't in the playoffs right now, they're probably that one team that everybody have counted them out thinking that they're going to get eliminated in the first round. Well, don't ask that to the Revs because despite the fact that they don't have the all-time meeting, in fact, the Union has got the better of the Revs with a 21-9-10 record. That decision day game is definitely a warning for the Philadelphia Union that they cannot take New England lightly. They lost that one 2-1 against New England before the first ever meeting. It was a 3-0 win for the Philadelphia Union. Now, in terms of the last 5 games, as I mentioned, a 2-1 loss to the Revs on decision day for the Union before it was a 0-0 draw against Nashville, a 3-2 home win against Atlanta, a 1-1 draw against Columbus, and then a 1-1 draw against FC Dallas. So yeah, one win in 5 games. That's definitely not gonna give a lot of confidence to Union fans that this team is going to go deep in the playoffs when they've kind of been struggling lately. For New England, 2-1 win against the Union, but before that, it's been kind of a miserable form. 3-2 loss against Nashville, 3-2 loss to Orlando City, a 2-1 home loss against Columbus, but they did win 2-1 against Charlotte FC. So, as much as people have said that New England has been going a bad run, really the last 5 head-to-head, it hasn't been as bad as what people have said. And again, this is a team that, on one hand you can say that they're completely out of it, but on the other hand, you can say that this team has have that adversity of rallying despite what's going on and off the field, just still trying to get themselves wins and trying to make sure that they're not just going to be one and done in the playoffs. Now, in terms of the top goal scorer, you got Julian Carranza and Daniel Gastek with 14 goals, followed by Michael Urut with 9 goals. I mean, not a big surprise. The Union Big Three are the top three goal scorers. Then you got Jose Martinez, who all of a sudden knows how to score bangers this season with 3 goals, followed by Jacob Glesnes with 2 goals. For New England, Carlos Hill unsurprisingly leads the team with 11 goals. Then you got Gustavo Bo with 7 goals, Bobby Witt with 7 goals, Thomas Calais, who for a while just kind of came out of nowhere, started scoring bangers of goals with 6 goals, and then you got Veroni with 6 goals to round up the top 5 top goal scorer. Assist leader for the Union, Daniel Gastag leads the team with 11 assists, followed by Alejandro Bedoya, who could potentially be playing his final couple of games for the Union, knowing that it seems like he's looking like he's not going to come back to this Union team next season. Another guy that looks like he's not going to come back to the Union next season is Kai Wagner with 7 assists, followed by Julian Carranza with 6 assists, and Michael Roux with 4 assists. For New England, unsurprisingly, Carlos Hill leads the team with 15 assists, followed by DeJuan Jones with 7 assists, Bobby Wood with 5 assists, Gustavo Bo with 4 assists, and Emmanuel Boateng rounds up the top 5 with 3 assists. Again, I don't think this is going to be a one-sided affair. I think between this game and this one, it's going to be very similar. It's going to be low scoring. There's going to be some sluggish kind of thing that we'll see in the playoffs that we see. I mean, in playoffs, usually games are not supposed to be meant for high scoring. It's not going to be like what we see at least in some of these playoff game where it's going to just be goal scoring frenzy and defense pretty much is optional. I think there's definitely going to be more of a cautionary tales in terms of these games, but this is also where I go back to my discussion. I said in the beginning of the video how our teams are going to approach game one. It's going to be very interesting to see how game one is going to be because, for both of these teams, there's really two mindset you can approach. You can either approach with a mindset of, well, it's only game one. You can still make it up in game two, and it's not like an elimination game like we've seen in previous year. And then this, of course, also goes back to why a lot of teams tends to play very defensive in the first leg. It was still a two-legged affair because you don't want to lose it in the first leg. You want to make sure that second leg is important too. But then the argument to that is, well, this is not like a two-legged affair. I mean, if you get a draw on this one, you go to PK shootout, and if you lose that PK shootout, you're in the back foot all of a sudden, and now all of a sudden you could be potentially facing elimination, and if you lose the next game, you're done in terms of the playoffs. So I'm very fascinated to see how these team is gonna approach, and I'm even gonna be more fascinated to see how people will react to this format because again, this is very old school. I don't know if this is going to work in terms of the playoff format. And again, for those of you wondering why exactly the league decided to bring back the best of three, it's not because of the fact that they want to bring back some nostalgia that we've seen in the late 90s and even into the 2000s. It's because Apple TV want more playoff games, and this is the best way to do it. So again, we shall see whether or not if this is indeed the best way to do it, or the fact that this is just kind of dragged out the playoffs to a point where the playoffs is going to be very long this season. I mean, we're not going to have MLS Cup until December, although it's going to be in the day where we have seen the last couple of MLS Cup has been, well, except for last year. That is when it happened in November, but in the previous year it happened like in December and so forth. So yeah, again, we'll see how this is going to go. And I haven't even forget to mention the fact that between the playoffs, we also have a November international break, and that's also going to be very interesting to see how things is going to go. Because I think the other thing that could be a big criticism in terms of this format is that if you have some teams that have already able to get both of the game wins, but they have to face against a team that's basically playing in game three, you're going to have even more rest even after the international break. 'Cause I think the second round is after the international break. Russ is going to be a huge factor in terms of these playoff game, and then it just gets to a point where it's not about the best quality of these teams. It's also about kind of who has the best fitness and who has it's almost like kind of like the survival of the fittest and a battle of nutrition in terms of see who can stick it out and win MLS Cup. So again, that could be the criticism, but we're about to find out. The playoffs, I know it started back on Wednesday, but this is where it really gets started when all the teams are now. And yeah, I'll see in about a month and a half who is going to win MLS Cup. And also, you notice I didn't wear a jersey of a team. I want to stay neutral. I don't want to make sure that I wear a jersey of the team and I might jinx the team. So far, I'm going to do the same thing when it comes to the Conference preview of these playoff games. But yeah, there you have it. That is pretty much it in terms of the Eastern Conference playoff preview of the first round. As I said, I'll do the Western Conference version a little bit later tonight. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you guys leave a like, smash the subscribe button. Let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video, and let me know in the comments below your prediction of who is going to win the best of three out of these four Eastern Conference first round playoff matchup. But like I said, until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you leave a like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.